Welcome back to Overtime. We will now discuss the Atlanta Braves. We go from college football to the Braves. It's a packed show, and this is a really packed segment because there's a lot to digest here with the Braves beating the Dodgers and now playing in the World Series for the first time in 22 years against the Houston Astros. We'll dive into all the historical stuff coming up in just a bit. Of the 6 games you saw for the Braves to clinch this spot in the World Series, what are some of the things that you saw transpire over this series and some of the things you're looking forward to in the next?
Well, I think the Braves' clutch hitting was one thing when you think of that they won 2 games in the 9th inning, and then you think of Rosario's big at bat in Game 6 when it seemed like that's when you had the Dodgers on the ropes a little bit because the Dodgers bullpen has really pitched well throughout that series when you thought the Braves could get to them. And the Braves bullpen, how well they pitched. At times when you thought they'd be susceptible, especially the left-handers. Matzik coming in the 7th inning or 7th inning of that game and getting Mookie Betts, which is a very, very tough hitter for the last out with 3 straight fastballs, a dead fastball hitter. To me, was very impressive. So was getting Souza before that as well. Not a guy you expect to beat you like Betts did, but the left-handers on the Braves and the Braves bullpen in general has taken a little bit of a beating this year. So it was nice to see them play very well and come up with the main reason for why they beat the Dodgers. And when you look at the Astros, they have the same thing where they have a pretty good bullpen as well.
Exactly. A lot of history on the line here. The Braves haven't won a World Series in a very long time. Meanwhile, the manager for the Astros, Dusty Baker, has been close to the mountaintop again and again and again. He'll have a shot to break through as well. Speaking of streaks, Braves are right now and amongst some teams that are in Major League Baseball that are back here for the first time in a long time. This is the most postseason appearances without a World Series championship, and it's a really long streak. Some currently going on.
You see, I was thinking of what I could possibly say for this streak because I wanted to see where it ranked. I know the Braves had not won a World Series since 1995, and when you consider how many times they've made the postseason, I want to see this is now the 17th year that they've trying to win the World Series again, where that ranks. Turns out that that's the most in baseball history, most postseason appearances between without a World Series win. Not that they haven't won one, but they've appeared in 16 and have not won any of those 16. The second longest were the Cubs from 1907 to 2016. That means they were in 14 world postseasons between then without winning. And the Athletics and the Indians right now have current streaks of 13.
Right, exactly. And, of course, the Dodgers broke that streak not that long ago.
Last year.
Exactly, and got that championship run. Meanwhile, we have the fewest regular season wins. This is a Braves team that didn't blow you away. They weren't the Giants who won 107. They weren't the Dodgers who went 106. But they found a way to get it done, even though they had a basically, I wouldn't say subpar, that's probably unfair to them, but maybe not the kind of regular season they were expecting going into it.
A lot of injuries, a lot of time. Like if they started with the team they started after the All-Star break, they probably would have won more games. But you look at those teams, the 2006 Cardinals beat a 97-win Met team that was much better than them in the NLCS in 7 games. 87 Twins, the only team with a negative run differential to win the World Series. Awful on the road, great at home. 2000 Yankees, people think of the Yankees as dominant during those years. That was their 3rd straight title. Only 87 wins during the regular season. And the 2014 Giants, that was their 3rd title in 5 years.
Right, exactly. So it's one of those things that's kind of become a cliche about it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Well, this graphic will show you it is about how you finish, and those are the wins, of course, from going back to 1969 and non-strike years. Meanwhile, going to this series, a lot of it will be on who's on the hill for both teams. Here's a good breakdown of that.
Yeah, the Astros bullpen and the Braves bullpen, both strengths this postseason. When you think of the Astros, none of their starters really went deep against the Red Sox until games 5 and 6. And the Braves, when you think of the last couple games of that series, starting with Morton and then Anderson getting coming out in the 4th inning for a pinch hitter, which basically won the game for the Braves. So a lot of those moves Snicker made this year have worked out in years past postseason. They didn't. Their bullpens are very similar so far in the postseason, and it's going to play a big part in this series. This is the first time really in a postseason where the starting pitching really wasn't the story.
Right.
The bullpens were going to be the story. Even you look at Houston's pitching staff and the Braves pitching staff, maybe Morton is the most accomplished guy.
Right.
Max Fried at times looked totally lost in the league championship series, in that game 5 especially, a game where he could have eliminated the Dodgers. And a guy like Greinke only went 1 inning in his 1 2/3 innings in his start against the Red Sox. Another guy with a lot of postseason experience. Morton's a guy who pitched well in 2017 for the Astros, didn't pitch as well in the World Series in 2020 for the Rays. So this is going to be very interesting to see how the starting pitching works and whose bullpen is better. They've been almost identical so far this postseason.
100%. Meanwhile, the previous matchups between these two teams runs deep. 2005, 2004, 2001, 99, and 97, of course, when they shared a league.
And people forget that the Astros were in the National League until 2013 when they switched to the American League, basically because you had to have 15 teams in each league, which meant you would have an interleague series every series of the regular season. They have a great postseason history as far as moments.
Right.
And what we've done is we've put together a couple top 5 moments between the Astros and Braves in league championship series or league division series, whatever the postseason series was, and showing you a couple of highlights of those. Kevin Millwood, a one-hitter, game 2 of the 99 NLDS series. The Braves won 3-1. Rafael Furcal, walk-off in game 2 of the 2004 NLDS. That was a few days after he was arrested for drunk driving. They suspended him. He appealed it, shouldn't have played in the game, but did wind up hitting the walk-off homer. Carlos Beltran and the basically one-man show he put on against the Braves in Game 5, 4 for 5, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 3 runs scored. Got him his big contract with the Mets in 2005. Walt Weiss, everybody forgets this play. Great game-saving play off a ground ball up the middle, bases loaded, and 1 out with John Rocker on the mound. Everybody remembers John Rocker off of Tony Eusebio. Kept that game alive. Braves wind up winning that series in 4 games. And then the first one, 2005 NLDS, the great comeback by the Astros, down 6-1 in the 8th inning. 2 home runs off of Farnsworth, 1 grand slam by Berkman. The other, Brad Osmus, a backup catcher who you don't expect to hit a home run. And then Chris Burke wound up with the walk-off home run against Joey Devine. Him and Kevin McGlinchey, 2 guys the Braves fans don't really like. McGlinchey's the one who gave up the walk-off grand slam to Robin Ventura.
Right.
And Roger Clemens wound up getting the win in that game.
We'll take a quickly look at those images. And one of the things about that Millwood game, that number 5 moment, is the fact that he played just so well, I think, throughout the course of the year and got that big one there towards the end.
Yeah, and a lot of people remember Millwood did wind up throwing a no-hitter with the Phillies, but this I thought was his best pitching performance. He did allow a run because he walked some guys, but this to me, Millwood and the rest of that staff, maybe he wasn't on the same level as Maddox or Glavine, who actually wound up both had losing records in the postseason. But Millwood at times wasn't as good as he could have been during the regular season. This definitely was one start where he stood out.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Rafael Furcal, that walk-off home run that you talked about earlier, our number 4 moment, gave really a shot in the arm, honestly, to the series and just in general, and a great playoff moment.
Yeah, again, off of Dan Maselli, this gave the Braves or tied the series at 1. This is in 2004, a series the Braves wind up losing in 4 games. The only game they won here was a walk-off homer by Furcal.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Carlos Beltran, you mentioned those 2 home runs in a game he probably shouldn't have been playing in, and really helped them claim that series back in 2004 in Game 5.
Yeah, and Beltran, those 2 home runs were off of Gerhard Wright. For those, he was kind of like the Russ Ortiz-like, a guy who had some very good postseason starts with the Indians. Actually started Game 7 of the World Series with the Indians when he was only 21 years old. Won a game at Yankee Stadium. He was only 21 years old. Did not do as well with the Braves. This was one of those bad starts. Beltran took him deep twice. Exactly,
and then Walt Weiss, this is a play that I hadn't seen probably since '99. I want to say a game-saving win here.
Yep.
It lets you know in playoff baseball, it's the small things that really get it done.
Yep, great play, great diving play, throw it home to get him out and to keep that game alive. John Rocker on the mound, who was a very good left-handed reliever before his big mouth got him into some trouble, saying some things about the 7 train. Back in my hometown, in Queens, they shouldn't have said. but he was very effective those 2 years as a closer for the Braves.
Exactly. And our final moment is really, couldn't break it down to just one pitch or one play, but it was a really interesting dynamic there in Game 4 of the 2005 LDS.
Yeah, what happened was the Braves got out early. There's Adam LaRoche actually hitting a home run there. Grand slam off of Kyle Farnsworth, who did not have very good moments as a Braves closer, taking over for John Smoltz, who had the job after he came back from injury for a couple of years. This is Bergman, grand slam down 6-1, make it 6-5. This leads to the bottom of the ninth, where you have Farnsworth in again against Brad Ausmus, a bomb. Brad Ausmus should not be hitting the ball like this. I remember thinking, oh, did that go out? And for a second, not knowing, wound up being a game-tying homer, and Ausmus just kind of rounded the bases like he's done this his whole career. Believe me, Brad Ausmus did not hit that many home runs in his career. And you got to remember, at this point, the Astros did not have much success in the postseason. They very rarely won a series. They played some tough series, but again, they didn't win any. This one, Chris Burke. Who the heck is Chris Burke?
Yeah, nobody knows.
No one. He was like the Benny Agbayani of game-winning home runs. Game-winning home run for Joey Devine. Again, another no-name in Braves history. Gets the Astros to the League Championship Series, where they would play the Cardinals for the second straight year. Cardinals had very good teams those years. 2004, 2005, great series between those two teams. Just a couple of postseason moments between two teams that are very used to playing each other from the National League. Now they play each other in the World Series.
Excellent breakdown there, Mark, both of the numbers and of the moments, and we expect this series to play out the exact same way. We'll keep it right here on Overtime. We will have our college football picks for this week. We'll also show you how we did last week right here on Overtime.